emotional aspects of a relationship.
Right.
You know, men are from Mars and women are from Venus, so that's how that whole thing goes. But I think more and more there's people like you that show up that what I call the heart warriors. You know, where you're still you're a man's man, like.
You can say that on the air.
I will.
This is cool. Hot warrior.
I'll say it, but then you're comfortable going in. It's like the guys of today.
Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Dudes to Dads. I'm Jason Kreidman.
I am Alan Bush.
And today, Alan, we have a very special guest.
Special guest.
Actually, I'm going to add two veries.
Okay, a very, very special guest.
This is Miss Susie Walton.
Yeah.
And Susie, I met Susie, a couple years ago. Susie is the person who taught me all of the parenting classes that I went to.
Responsible for you.
Pretty
being
much
awesome.
Responsible for me being awesome. Well, at least me thinking that I'm right. She gave me a lot of confidence.
Sure.
So Susie, hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
If this Dudes to Dads, am I a dudette?
Actually, you are the first female
I'm a dudette.
to grace the presence of the microphone.
I am honored.
That's awesome. and kind of on purpose, because I think Susie was very instrumental in when I took the classes the first time. You know, it was sort of with my wife. We took these classes, and I really felt like there was something more to it than just me kind of going through the classes. And that's when I went through the instructor program to help teach her classes and do that. And so while I haven't necessarily become, quote, an instructor of the class, I'm now doing this and the meet up and everything else. And so it's just been absolutely instrumental for me. So, and we're going to talk about the classes and sort of what they are and how it all evolved. So I want to first sort of learn, a little bit more about your background. Kind of how did you get into parenting classes or the teaching of that, and sort of where does that start? And how, because you've been doing this now for a little bit of time.
20 some years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm one of 10 kids.
Wow.
There's 8 girls in my family and 2 boys.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was way cool. Great family. But and then I was, I got married and I was blessed with 4 sons. Mm-hmm. And growing up with 7 sisters, I would look at these 4
only 4
boys. And I'm like, how do you do this? Like, how the boy thing is so different than girls, right?
Of course.
So I just winged it for the first 14 years, I think. And it was winging it to a point where my boys nicknamed me Brubaker.
Ooh,
and Brubaker is a great Robert Redford movie, but Brubaker's a prison warden.
Gotcha.
I mean, they loved me. I totally entertained them. They didn't think I needed parenting classes because they were probably just impressed with my behavior.
But you were tough.
No, only when I needed to be. Like, it was so, like, sometimes I'd be like, whatever, you guys are crazy. And other times we just get along. And other times when I really want them to do their homework or do dishes or something, I'd be just on them. Like, you got to do it. Come on, stop it. If you want to do this, blah, 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 just crazy. Yeah. There was times that they would dogpile me. And they're like, we're not getting up until you smile. Boys. They're all 6'8", 6'9". They're not little boys.
Whoa,
they're huge. Yeah. And they would lay on top of me laughing like, we're not letting you up until you smile. I'm not smiling. This is not funny. You're doing, wow.
But that sounds like the closeness that you created with these kids.
I mean, that was a beautiful thing.
That's not something that every parent or every mom, I think, not many moms would be accepting, or vice versa, that the kids would dogpile on top of their mom,
smile,
to do that.
Yeah.
I think that in itself is sort of a special thing.
So I always had a great relationship with my boys. They've always been my nearest and dearest friends, and they are to this day. So anyways, I'm the one that started feeling pretty lousy about how I was parenting, especially as they became teenagers, and yelling at a teen, and they're 6'8", and you're like,
looking up at them.
I was exhausted by the time I left for school in the morning. So I found out about a parenting class, and I actually flew to San Francisco and took the teacher training course as my parenting class, because there wasn't one down here. Okay. And I loved it so much, I just started teaching it. Awesome. And then 23 years later, because the thing is, I had 4 boys under the age of 6. And then I had 4 teenage sons at the same time.
Right.
So it was imperative that I picked up
Get the hang of it.
Yeah, picked up my, my part on how to communicate without having to yell and try to threaten them and
Got it.
Entertain them and make me crazy.
So you have probably, and when you do something that long, you start to see really, I'm sure, what works and what doesn't work. So although you're teaching these concepts, if you will, that you've done, and some of them work for you, some of them work for other people. But when you start to see, especially your students, who their children are very small, and then they start to have these older kids, I'm assuming that's really special to kind of see those, not only see the relationships that are created, but then to see really what's working.
Yeah.
And it's working. Jason, is incredible because now that I've been teaching so long, I am getting these parents back 10, 15 years later that have these teens. And they're doing teen issue things, but knock on wood,
made quite a difference.
I don't think I haven't run into a family yet who actually really practice this type of parenting, this democratic parenting, and are having big issues. I mean, they're having issues, but nothing of huge proportion.
Right.
And so, which just does my heart good. And I know it works. The two components of what kids today need are to be parented with truth and respect.
Right.
And I think that's what my kids got with me. I never tried to be anything than I was. Like they knew me. I didn't try to act like a different person than I was. I was just me parenting them.
Right.
And I felt like I was always respectful unless I was yelling at them. And that's why I wanted to find something different, because that's the part that I felt bad about. They didn't.
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest concepts, and I think we're going to talk about it a little later, but one of the biggest concepts that sort of rings true is that we are a teacher. We're not a police. We're not, sort of this warden, which although they call us that, but the idea, like you said, it's democratic, and you're teaching them. Your job and your responsibility as a parent is to teach them how to be good people.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where you create that great relationship.
Well, discipline means to teach. We're educators. I tell parents, when you're disciplining, be an educator. When you're loving them, hugging them, having fun, be the parent.
Yeah.
Because educators don't get to do that aspect of hugging and snuggling with their kids at school, right? But but when it comes to discipline, they're good at it.
Right.
But we can be both people.
Right.
But the educator part is huge, and that modeling part, and that's where I think we'll talk a little bit about dads in a bit, but.
So, and you were teaching, you taught these classes, and you sort of, you went to this other. The other program, and you were teaching it, and then you decided to develop your own class. And this is the joy of parenting.
Right. Yeah.
So tell me a little about that.
Well, 5 years ago or so, I think it's longer now, 7 years ago, I started writing a book on parenting. I wanted a parenting book that I wish I'd had 39 years ago. Wow. I'm going to have a 40-year-old this October.
Is this the Key to Personal Freedom book? It is.
So it feeds into the joy of parenting. I wanted to create a book that was actually that someone could read and just like, okay, I
almost
got
like
it.
a manual.
Yeah. But in big letters, for parents late at night when they're just tired.
Yeah.
They want these little letter things.
No
right?
parenting happens after 5 o'clock.
And I learned by stories, so I wanted to create a book of stories.
Okay.
And that's where Key to Personal Freedom came in, and it's based on different myths, 18 myths that we've grown up with. Like one myth is your child's can't be your friend. And I'm like, no, they can be your friend. It's a parent-child relationship, but it's a friendship. Or another myth is, that you always think of the child first before the parent. And I'm like, oh no, you have to self-care in order to be a parent that you want to be. So I took 18 myths and I cracked them with new ideas, new stories, in order for people that they could then let go of the old stories and start creating the family of their dreams.
Got it.
Right.
So
so you know what, Alan? So a lot of the stuff that I've used, obviously, is from Susie stuff.
The origin story
and
here.
Absolutely. And so like one of the myths, example, that children are not capable. Mm-hmm. That was one of my favorite ones, and we've talked about that on our show.
Episode,
that they are capable, and even a 5-year-old can do XYZ, or a 7-year-old can do XYZ, and we just don't think that they're capable of doing anything.
It tripped me out with some of the things that you said that you'd let them do.
Right.
And maybe they did it wrong, or they didn't do it as fast as you would, but you gave it to them to do it.
Right.
And they
do fine.
Yeah, even today with one of my granddaughters, my 4.5-year-old granddaughter, she I was trying to get some tape off a box, and she said, Grammy, I want to do that. I'm like, these are sharp scissors. So she started going, come on, can I please? I just really want to do it. I'm like, whoa. Like, I don't want you to get what you want by whining. Why don't you try this? Why don't you say, but Grammy, I think I'm capable enough to do this. Mm-hmm. So she said, Grammy, I think I'm capable enough to do this. And I could just tell by her tone like her intent got stronger, her commitment to do it right.
She wanted to show you too.
Yeah, but in a way that was strengthening,
Confidence, yeah.
not confident, not like
Right.
you know, given because you're whining
Yeah.
business. And she did a beautiful job of it. But I loved Grammy.
Right.
I think I'm capable enough to do this.
So that was a point where I mean, that's something
Empowering.
too, which I'm still learning is, you know, instead of sort of getting back at, like, you know, let's say the child's whining, she's instructing them, what should you say?
Yeah.
You know, don't say what you don't want.
Right. Say
but
what you
say
want.
what you want and
Yeah.
say, hey, explain to me and say, hey, listen, Grammy, I really want to cut this box. I
Yeah.
think I'm capable of it. So that's something that rings really true for me of trying to understand how to instruct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And then when she said it, she felt there was so much
Conviction.
Yeah, like how I could, you know, like yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Like she convinced me at that point that
Yeah.
she was very capable.
Right.
So.
Another one too was the behavior, and you know, why do kids misbehave? It's like, you know, they want attention.
Right.
You know, they're not trying to be jerks. You know, I'm not whining and screaming because I want to be a jerk. It's like they usually need something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, it's so funny because with kids we call it misbehavior. You know,
With
which
adults,
is
yeah.
with adults we would never say, you know, if you yelled at me, you know, I wouldn't like, why are you misbehaving? I would probably say, what's going on? What are you so
why are you
stressed
yelling at me?
about? Or why are you so? What's going on? You must be so
Yeah.
stressed out that you're yelling.
True.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to get parents to change the whole paradigm of even misbehavior as your child's
They're stressed out.
Now it
Yeah.
doesn't mean they get away with what they're doing, but you know, let's look at the root of the problem
Right.
versus just the behavior.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it just makes so much sense. All of this stuff,
does,
where
yeah.
there's so much to learn, you know, and that's why I enjoy having you on and talking, because it's like, I think I could go through the parenting classes like every week, you know, because you learn new things. That's
I'm still learning.
Well, when I took the class, I go, you just can't have like 4 classes and be done. Like you have to do this. I did this every month.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
You need
it's just-
coaching.
no, it's so important. I think too. What we'll do, we'll put a link on the page.
Yeah.
For the podcast episode, we'll put a link on the page to the book. You can purchase on Amazon with our huge
the book
commission
called The
fees.
Joy
that
of
we get.
Parenting, or what's
Yeah.
the book called?
No, the book is Key to Personal Freedom.
Key to
right?
Personal Freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, how
Gotcha.
myths affect
Our family lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So
Yeah.
we'll put a link to there.
That'll be great.
Also, any feedback that you guys have, be sure to send us an email, podcast@dudestodads.com. Also at Twitter, at Dudes to Dads on Twitter.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't reply to Twitter. They won't answer
20-something
you.
episodes, I will finally get it right. And I'm an internet guy. Imagine if I wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's great. So you wrote the book, and then we were talking about going into the class and how you sort of created then your own class of Joy
Yeah,
of
I just
Parenting.
decided after teaching, it was redirecting children's behavior, fabulous course, taught
Right.
it forever and a day. But I just decided since I'd written a book, why not create a course around it?
Okay.
And
Excellent,
I also wanted to up the ante a little bit about making parents more responsible for what's happening in front of them.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I love the tools of that other course, but I just wanted
Little
to do
twist.
a little twist to it, the same
you-
philosophy, because
Okay.
like, you know, my Joy of Parenting, positive discipline, redirecting, STEP, all these different parentings are all based on Dreiker's philosophy.
Right.
You know, they're all Adlerian based psychology, and so everybody just puts their own slant, and you know, I felt like my
It was your
slant-
turn.
Yeah, it was my turn.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was done. It was time for me
Yeah.
to do my own thing.
You've got
That's
a
great.
lot of experience
Yeah.
doing that. So then you started, so you created this class. And so then, is it just then for people in the San Diego area? You
Well, I
travel
have
a little bit,
I
right?
travel.
And now you have
I'm doing one up
instructors?
in Ontario in next month, I think it is.
Ontario, California,
Yeah,
or
and
Canada?
Ontario, California right now.
Okay, gotcha.
I just had someone just got trained. She's Polish, and she wants me to go to Poland with her next year to
Whoa.
teach her there.
That'd be kind of
So you're starting to get those instructors in those different places too.
Well, I have an instructor in Florida, and an instructor in St. Louis,
Okay.
and an instructor in Nashville,
Gotcha.
Las Vegas.
So if there is
So-
some, I mean, so it doesn't really matter where. I mean, if somebody takes the course, then they can go and they can teach that. So that's something too. We'll put
Yeah.
a link on the website as
That's
well.
interesting.
Yeah.
So basically, I could take your course, learn to be a teacher in
And
your
teach-
methodology,
Take it anywhere you
and
want.
then take it anywhere you
Yeah.
want. Gotcha.
It's
Cool.
really, and then I have an online course too, the Joy of Parenting online course.
That's
Oh,
right.
okay.
That's
That's
right.
Great.
way cool.
Tons of videos and
Yeah.
instruction stuff. Good
Do you have
stuff.
a website?
Yeah, I do. It's IndigoVillage.com.
IndigoVillage.com. Okay. That's
And
good to know.
maybe touch real quick on about the village concept, because that was something that we kind of
The original,
overlooked.
how
Yeah.
Indigo Village showed up.
Yeah.
Good question. It just went poof.
Well, you would say about it taking a village.
Yeah,
I mean, that was,
and that's where the name came from. Like, I was teaching some other course, some personal growth courses, and we were looking for a course room, right? And I was with my assistant then, who's now my daughter-in-law, which is awesome. Like,
that's great.
one of the most amazing moms you'd ever want to know in person. But anyway, we were just driving around, and someone told us about this place on Vulcan in Encinitas here, and there was this beautiful room for courses, but then there was all these offices, and they were all empty, and we looked at each other, and maybe we should take the whole thing and create
it's
a
an
village
awesome space.
because I had this idea, to create like a one-stop shop for parents that were looking for some sort of alternative to other regular type of health stuff, like an acupuncture and chiropractor and massage therapist, Reiki, just and they're all under this one roof, along with my parenting classes. So we're going to call, we thought of the village, and then we decided Indigo Village because there's a woman who passed now, but Nancy Tappy here, she was in Carlsbad, and she used to read auras, and she said that 95% of our kids now are this color indigo, and it's just another term for kids, but these kids are coming in like, you all know these kids. They are strong-willed.
Yeah.
They know what they want. They come in with a sense of royalty. They're incredibly sensitive, but not always to other people. But to themselves, they're very sensitive.
Spirited?
Very spirited. The whole
nice
9 yards.
euphemism.
So I decided to call the village Indigo Village to honor the kids of today.
Got it.
You know?
That's where I took the classes, and it's a beautiful space. I've taken other classes.
But it's no longer there.
Well, okay, I see.
So when 4 years ago, one of my sons said, you got to let go of that building. You should just go virtual and become a virtual community. And I'm like, become a what? Like all night, I'm like, what? What am I becoming? Like that concept. But
so your company name is still that
Indigo Village.
Yeah. You brought
the concept
it
still
online.
is on virtual. I still go places to teach, but everything I want to offer parents is online.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you did the courses, created that. You do speaking engagements as well, and people can hire you to do that. And then, so the book came before
The course.
your own course.
Yeah.
And so what's next?
What is next? Well, I'm a grandma to 7 kids under age 4.
Oh, wow.
And so that has just taken over my life, and I'm so happy about it. Because
Different
That's
chapter.
the fun chapter.
it's just a
I feel
different.
like,
I had so much fun with my kids too, though.
Okay,
So I'm having fun with these kids too. But it's
Yeah.
to me, it's such an honor to be a grandparent and to see your
You
lineage.
teach grandparents too.
Well, I will in a few years.
Yeah.
Let me be a grandparent for a few years, and I mean,
Well, at least I
make some
Maybe an
mistakes
expert.
around it.
Yeah.
I recalled in my class though there was grandparents.
Yeah, there's grandparents
they
that
came
come
to
already.
The classes.
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So that'll be in the next few years. But right now I'm writing a book called Kids Do Come with a Manual. Because
that's
everyone's
awesome.
like, kids don't come with a manual. Like, it's coming.
They do.
Kids, it's coming. It's called Kids Do Come with a Manual.
That's something
There
that
it
men
is.
might buy then.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's what I'm doing. I'm still teaching the joy of parenting and doing a lot of instructor trainings, getting more and
very
more
cool.
people to be certified to teach.
Okay.
So they're
Yeah.
certified through your program,
Yeah.
and then they get like a certificate
Yeah.
of some sort?
Yep.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yep.
So another topic, and one of the reasons I wanted to bring you in too is to really understand the differences, because for the most part, men are listening to our show. We do. It's funny. We do get women, and I think they want to just like a fly on the wall. They want to hear what we're talking about. But to understand that men do parent differently than women in general. I mean, talking stereotypes and things like that. What are some ways that you see that? Because the woman often takes a primary role in the child rearing. So the dad's role sometimes is a little different.
Right.
I mean, that's changing, and there's a lot of stay-at-home dads and things like that. But we're talking about sort of what's called traditional role.
Yeah.
How do you see it? What are some of the differences?
Well, I think, especially like in the past, and I think it is changing now. Like, I think it's from the book Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. I think it's in there. I read it. That women, they base their success on relationships.
Right.
And men base their success on work, right?
Sure.
And so a relationship is like huge for a mom, for a woman, and then the dad, the family's important, but their success is based on their work, so to speak.
it.
But I think it's merging more and not being so like, apples and oranges.
Right.
And so when it comes to dads parenting differently, I think dads are going to end up probably parenting differently on however the mom's parenting. Because I see both sides of it. I see it where a mom's maybe a little more permissive and gives in a little bit, and dad comes home as
Mr.
like,
Fun Guy.
Yeah, no, dad comes home as a hard hitter, like,
the
hey, you know,
disciplinarian.
come on, just, you know, not the hard hitter like hitting, but disciplinarian. Thank you. You know, like, no, you're going to bed now. There's no, you know, blah blah blah.
Has she
blah.
been to my house?
And or there's the mom who's at home with the kids, or when, you know, it's the more of the strict one, and then dad gets home, you know, after work, and you know the kids are getting ready for bed, and dad wants to have a play date and throwing, you know, pillows around, and the mom's like, are you kidding me right now?
Right.
Like all day I've been, you know, boom, and now you come home like a party man? Like,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
So
You think it's more about the balance?
I think it's a balance. It's not even like, I know back in the day it was like men were known as being more autocratic.
Yeah, so that you had talked about that. That was something that struck too, was the different parenting styles. So kind of just briefly, I want, because you said the word autocratic.
Yeah.
What are the different, you know, parenting styles? Because I think I had a tendency to at least stereotype and think that men are more of one way, which is the autocratic, which would be more disciplinarian and sort of strict.
Respect based out of fear.
Right.
Like
Right,
most of us were raised autocratically, and most of us didn't do things because we didn't want
It's
to
like,
get
if
in
you don't
trouble.
do this, you're gonna blah blah blah.
Yeah, we didn't want to get in trouble, so we either didn't do it or we were real sneaky about doing it, or blamed someone else, one of our siblings. Well, she or he made me do it because who wanted to get in trouble, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's autocratic. The permissive is the other end of the spectrum, where the parents
Just everything
constantly
goes.
giving in.
Yeah.
You know, they say this, but if the kid pushes long enough, they finally give in because they're tired, or you know, they just want the child to be happy, and then.
And neither one of those.
Neither one.
are
I always
effective.
say if you have to choose between permissive and autocratic, I'd rather you lean towards autocratic. Your kids aren't going to like you at all when they're teenagers, probably. But then I always say that, you know, when they get older,
They're not gonna
they'll
walk around
appreciate
you
you.
either.
well, they'll go to therapy when they get older and they realize, oh, you had these rules because you actually loved us and you cared about us, right?
Versus what happens when
The permissive kids won't go to. Why would they go to therapy?
Yeah, they get everything they want.
They
anyway.
just keep finding people to take
Yeah,
from, you know, and they just keep
Oh,
taking and
interesting.
taking. They don't even know there's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. So I'd rather you lean that way, but in our courses that we teach, you know, it's a democratic approach to parenting where you're firm out of respect for yourself, but you're kind out of respect for your child.
Right.
And in that, which is what I had with my kids, is that mutual respect. My kids respected me because I respected them.
Right. Right.
So when there was moments, especially as teenagers, when it came to shove, where they wanted to do something, and in my heart of hearts, I knew I couldn't let them do it. I would always, my heart, I just can't. My heart's in there. Like,
Susie
no,
has some
Yeah.
awesome stories.
you know, not
too.
your
Like
heart
just-
again.
Like, I mean, I recalled a couple of them, but like the homework stories, because we got in a debate about homework.
Yeah.
There was one story, if I recall, that one of your sons came home or didn't want to do his homework or something, and you're like, well, fine, then don't do it.
Well,
Like,
the youngest, finally I got smarter because I was taking these classes. Like with my first son, I'm so sorry. Like I was on him constantly with his homework business. But the last one, if he didn't do his homework, he knew he had to stay in at recess.
Right.
So every night I'm like, are you doing homework or are you staying in with Mr. K tomorrow? And, you know, he'd make his choice.
Yeah.
Or at the other
and
school.
you have to be okay with
Yeah,
either
the
one,
other school, he on the way to school, hey, Mom, don't pick me up until 30 minutes after school because I didn't do one of my assignments, so I have to stay in for 30. Totally cool. I'm like, okay, no problem. So
Sort of allowing them, because I think that reflects that you're allowing them to be their own person.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's, I mean, as a parent, I see this where we are so affected by what we think other people think.
Right.
That, hey, my son's going to be in detention. That's a reflection of me as a
Yeah,
parent,
yeah.
which sometimes it can be.
I used to go to detention too.
But at the same time, saying, you know what, if that's the decision that you're going to make,
yeah.
you got to live up to that.
Right, yeah.
Like, and being okay with that as a parent and just
Yeah.
kind of saying, hey, you didn't do your homework. I mean, we're starting now, you know, I've got first or second grade and kindergarten. And that kind of thing where the homework can say, you know, my son may say like, oh, I didn't get my homework done. I was like, okay, well, that's, you know, that's up to you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to ask, did you do your homework? Did you do your homework? Did you do your homework? You know, I might rewind him a little bit and make sure just so he remembers. But at the same time, I'm not policing it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you don't do it, you've got to live with those consequences, natural consequences, I guess.
right,
is
there's no better teacher than, you know, than life itself.
Sure.
And how far does that go? Because we've had these conversations where,
Like, yeah, don't jump off a cliff.
yeah, I mean,
You could
well,
die.
is it just? It was Scott, who is one of our guests.
Yeah.
allowing his son to climb.
a tree,
and
right.
I was climbing a fence or
That's right,
something.
yeah.
And it was the first time, because he's very open in that way. It was the first time that he got challenged because the son was very small, climbed up really, really high.
Did he get on with a tree or a fence? Or
He got on a fence and climbed up.
Yeah.
he was able to get.
He was able to do it on his own, but then that's how he handled it. He's like, "Hey, buddy, how's it going?" You know, and he's like, and he said, but that was the first time where he felt challenged because it brought him over his comfort zone.
Yeah. So because someone told me there's a Montessori thought that when a child can get themselves into a tree, then they're ready to climb that tree. Where kids get in trouble is you put a kid in a tree, and then But if they can actually, so it sounds like the fence too. But there's we have our own stuff going on, right?
Right.
So as a mom or a dad, it's really okay to say, okay, I need you to stop this now because I'm no longer feeling comfortable. I can't do this. This is too much for me. But it's a complete ownership
Of
your own stuff.
Right.
I know, but I know you do. I totally get that you want to. I can't let you do it. It's me.
Right.
So help me out. Hang in there and come. Let's get down and maybe another day.
Well, the story was too that he climbed up to his son to meet him there. He just climbed up, and his son looked over him and goes, "Dad, I'm going to be okay." And he was like 3 or 4 years old, and he's like, "Dad, I know you climbed up here, but I'm fine." And he just laughed it off. He's like, "Okay, I'm fine," and then went back down. So that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But imagine the confidence of that child at that age to say, "Look, no, I knew I can do it."
Yeah.
Like, I'm
fine.
okay.
Don't worry about it.
I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But that's why I said it's that comfort zone that there is that line. It's not just like, hey, whatever you want to do at any time.
No, you always, when you're feeling like there always needs to be
Safety.
actually needs to be parameters over almost any of those things. Like a child that doesn't want to go to bed at night because they're not tired. Well, okay, as long as you put yourself to sleep and you get up on time without being grumpy, like if you can do that, I'm okay with it. I just
That's
need you in
such a
your
hard
room.
one too. It's great.
But if you wake up in the morning, you're not waking up in the morning, you're grumpy, you haven't done your homework, then tomorrow night you just go to bed lights out at my time. And
so
then
you let them try it.
Yeah, because bottom line, you start telling your kids, my job as your parent is to teach you how to self-manage.
Right.
I need you to have all this stuff handled, the TV, the screen time. I want you to handle this before you go off somewhere after high school. Mm-hmm. And so we don't want to miss the opportunity. And what happens is so many parents today are spending so much time self-managing their kids.
Right.
Not just themselves. The helicopter parents that it's not allowing the kids to have those experiences.
And that's the manifestation of our own fears, our own things, and then not thinking that they're capable.
But there's a perk of dad. I think dads in general are more able to allow kids to have experiences like climbing trees or doing something that a mom normally
50 dangerous things that you should do.
Yeah, like or mom's gonna freak
Play with
out.
fire. Yeah.
So I always tell parents, like, if you got that going on, then dad, just you go to the park with the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you go to the beach and leave mom at home.
Yeah.
First of all, mom, have a break. And dad,
and bring the first aid kit.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's cool. So I want to. That's great. I think that I wanted to sort of understand the differences with parenting. So we went on and we talked about the different styles of parenting.
Yeah.
So I think just to kind of wrap that section up of that, there's the autocratic, the permissive, is that right? And then the democratic, and saying that if you have a really strict parent, the other one is not so strict. And it sort of balances out.
Well, they end up overcompensating. So this one gets stricter, so this one gets more lenient, and it gets, where they might have been parenting somewhat together, they're like in different fields.
Yeah. And that's a crucial thing of being on the same page. And
as much as you
Like
can.
a ping pong match at that point.
I'm not gonna. I'm gonna go ask mom because I know you're not gonna let me do it.
Right. Yeah.
And then pitting one against the other. What's been great for us is because we've both been through the courses. We both, my wife and I, have the sort of similar, philosophies. It's like our children know they can't pit one of us against the other. It's like. And we don't say, go ask your father, go ask your mother.
Right.
We don't say that. It's like, very rarely if that would come up. But it's not like, oh, well, I know that I'm going to get something if I go ask my mom.
Right.
Although, there are some things.
There might be a few.
Mom
They
is
might
a little
figure out
more,
the code.
and Susie knows my wife, mom's a little more lenient on some of the things, but not everything. But yeah, so they know they'll know that they won't get it if they come to me. So I guess that's true. Never mind. Forget that last 3 minutes of my we can edit that out.
Yeah, right. Just cut it right out.
So I want to sort of finish up with a couple of real good nuggets of sort of the most important parenting concepts. I mean, this is the couple of concepts that for me, I'm asking you what's the most important, but I can tell you sort of what was most important for me coming through the programs and through sort of learning. And I'd say the number one thing for me was parenting with my heart versus my head. That was the number one concept. When somebody asked me and say, "Hey, what'd you get out of it? What's the big deal? Why should I take these classes?" Because I am very cerebral. I think about things. It's and it's the emotion and that feeling, like when you said when we first started, what does this child need? And that's not a head thing. That's a feeling thing.
Right.
It's like, what does the child need from a feeling standpoint? So, you do talk about that a lot. Like the heart
but
and,
again, for men too, because you guys, most of you are raised like, tough it up.
Right.
Quit crying.
Rub some dirt on it.
Quit whining like a little girl. Like, just that whole like mentality, which it doesn't serve you because it didn't help nurture your heart at the same time. And,
right.
I think, as I said earlier, I think I think we're falling away from like men are this way and women are this way. As I call you oftentimes, Jason, like there are men out there that I call the heart warriors. Oh. Who you have become comfortable.
That's a great word.
I like
that.
You've
become comfortable in your heart, and you're still a man. It's not like you're still a guy. You're like a man. Like you don't have that aspect gone, but you've just added in the heart component of who you are.
And I can use that, right?
Yes.
Trademarked.
You are the heart warrior.
I am for now known as heart warrior.
I have a son.
Alan, please refer to me as heart warrior.
One of my sons is goes to meditation classes all the time, and his wife chooses not to, but it's like it's time for men to start like introducing this to the women too, because it's a nice combination.
Yeah.
Right. But using the heart is huge. And
just making those decisions.
Well, because kids, especially kids under 7, they just want to feel connected to their parents. I mean, you're the lifeline to the whole world.
Yeah.
And so when dads can actually parent in the way they parent, but using their hearts, or even like little things like getting eye level with their kids when speaking to them, or just listening, like, what is it that you're trying to tell me? That makes all the difference in the world of a child.
Right.
And I don't, and like we've talked before, like a lot of dads don't come to classes unless, for the most part, they're coming with their wives.
That's how I started.
Yeah.
My wife
but
said,
the thing is, I don't think
good.
men know the importance of
the role
they play for kids. Like dads out there, how you behave with your significant other is how your sons are going to act, and these are the kind of men that how
right.
you act is what your daughter's going to be looking for in a man.
Right.
So what are you modeling? There's so many quotes out there that say to the fact, kids never really hear what we have to say, but they're always watching what we do. Mm-hmm. There was years ago I was listening to Thich Nhat Hanh speak. He's a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, and he was out at the Civic Auditorium, and a father raised his hand and asked the question to him, how do you raise kids that are compassionate? And Thich Nhat Hanh's response was by looking at him and his wife, like by being compassionate towards each other. And then Thich Nhat Hanh went on to say, and if you want to raise kids that are kind, you must be kind to each other. So that relationship is huge, whether you're in the same household still or not. Like, how do you treat each other?
Right.
That is the basis to all kids and how they view relationships.
Right. Well, and too, and you just touched on something too. In the classes I took, there was a lot that were co-parenting. So, it was divorce and stuff, but just taking that ability to say, hey, listen, this is really important. So it doesn't matter whether you're married, single, divorced, doesn't matter. When you have a child, how important that is, and to understand and sort of be on the same page.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing. So we had grandparents, we had co-parenting, we had regular, just married
nannies.
Couples. Yeah, I mean, it really is anybody just that wants to really understand how to deal with the kids.
Yeah,
it's valuable.
How do you discipline and stay connected? How do you set limits without making them feel bad?
Yeah,
because kids so need limits.
We think we know, but gosh, we just don't. It's when you start getting this information, it's just so helpful.
I know people are like, where were you when my kids were younger? I always say, where was I when my kids were younger? Forget you guys. Oh my God! If I had that one tool, my favorite tool, I think of everything is, how are you two going to make this work?
Yes.
Every time how are you two? I hear you're mad. I don't want to hear your story about all this. What I'm interested in is what's next.
Yeah.
Like moving into the future. How are you guys going to do this?
Yeah.
They solve it.
Beautiful.
And they do. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That one's wonderful. And then the other one too, which I really loved, was the pause. So,
which is now the heart connector.
okay, right.
Yeah.
And so, and explain that a little bit. So,
Well, there's a man, Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book In Man's Search for Meaning. He was a survivor of the Holocaust, and he said one of the main reasons he survived the camps was because every time there was a stimulus, he created a space between the stimulus and how he responded. And he said, in that space lies your growth and your freedom, because it's huge.
Right.
Like you create this, there's your kids start whining, they start doing whatever they do.
We immediately react.
And you feel yourself getting like, ugh. Like, don't just feel it, create the space, get quiet. And in that moment, that's when I want you to choose, well, how do I want to handle this situation? So be disciplined enough, first of all, to create the space.
Right.
And then breathe into your heart, put your hands over your heart, whatever you need to do to reconnect with your heart, to remind you to respond with your heart to your child. Remember, your kids, they're just trying to figure out how to do this thing we call life.
right.
As mom and dads, we're still trying to figure out how to do this thing called life.
But we react so quickly to things.
Because
I
we
know I
don't
do.
we don't
Yeah.
notice the space.
Right.
And I've been using that more and more than ever before. I think it's just like when I feel a stimulus with one of my grandkids, I just get quiet for a minute because I want to create that space, and then I want to settle a little bit and like, okay, how do I want to handle this?
Right.
Because I don't want
And
to
once
react.
again, they see it and
Yeah.
they watch. They're like, "Wow, you're not responding right away. You're kind of thinking about it."
I find it interesting that you put your hand over your heart, literally. Like that, like literally you touch
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
area where your heart is,
Yeah.
where your physical heart is beating,
Yeah.
rather than some abstract entity.
Because I'm so kinesthetic, so if
Yeah.
I touch my heart, it's a reminder, and even more as important, your kids start seeing you do this,
Right.
and you tell them why when they ask you, and then
Yeah.
from that point on they'll go, Daddy, put your hands on your heart, or they'll
Right.
even come up to Daddy or Mom and put their hands on the heart for them,
That's
and
right.
then you find them doing it.
Yeah.
It's such a kinesthetic way of reminding, like, to stay here.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's
I like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
And then, which I touched on before, but this was just really big too for me, was that we are teachers. I kind of reiterate that, and
Sure.
those are, it's a couple concepts that for me were so strong that still now, years later, I think I took them 5, 6,
A while ago.
7 years ago. Wait, how old's my daughter?
I was how old are you?
She's
so
7?
4 years ago. No, my daughter's 5.
Oh, 5.
So 4 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when you were taking these courses. I think I knew you. at that
Yeah.
point.
We were working together, and
colleagues,
so
yeah.
and I was just so into it. It's just like, whoa, this is new information, and and I noticed just how much, I'd say, easier it was because I understood how to deal with situations. Whereas, even to this day, there are still plenty of situations that I'm not sure how to handle. There was one, as a matter of fact, I won't bring up the other night, where I really didn't know how to handle it.
Right.
But I did know I had to come from a loving place.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
that was the only thing that I remembered, and that
So
was
what'd
enough.
you do? Did you just get quiet and?
I did. Yes, it was with my son, and I was quiet. He was in bed, and I put my hand on him, and I was talking very calmly to him. It was a serious situation. Something had happened, but and it was interesting because when you had said that about how they're affected, I forget, you just had said something. I think it was the next day or the 2 days after, he said, Dad, you really made me feel better.
Well, that's
And
good.
that was about that situation. He's like, you really made me feel. I was like, when? He's like, well, when you were talking to me, so he knew that, because
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how to handle it. It was a disciplined situation. He did something that he shouldn't have been doing. But, scolding him and getting upset,
Right.
it wouldn't have done anything other than make him fearful of me and then lie to him or something the next time he's going to do it. So instead it was like, okay, this is a learning opportunity. What am I going to do and how am I going to handle this? That's all I knew. I didn't know how to handle it.
And even though, Jason, you might have said it's even okay to say to your kid,
I'm not sure how to do it. Yeah.
I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
I do know how much I love you. I
think I
know
did say
I
that,
need
yeah.
to do something. I don't want to yell at you. I'm kind of stuck for a moment. So hang in there with me until I figure this one out. In
Yeah.
fact, if you have any ideas
Any
yourself,
suggestions, comments,
give it to me.
concerns, please write to us at podcast.
Yeah. So even that, in that moment of truth, is so. It just connects your kids so much more to you because
Right.
they're like, Dad's just being Dad. Like you're just being
Yeah.
a person.
And I still have to think about it. You know, it's not something, I mean, I'll be honest, and it's not something that comes natural to me. You know, this is something that I've had to learn, and knowing how important it is, because my immediate thing is, you know, I'm very high strung in general. You know, I think quickly, I act quickly. I mean, those are things that I have to learn not to do.
Right.
So it's not something that's just like by instinct, I'm just that way and very just sort of calm. And it's not the case at all. You know, I'm the opposite. You know, my wife is a little bit more that way. She's more calm about things. So I have to be mindful about it. And actually, okay. And that, you know, I say the pause, but you say the heart connector, that is something that works, because it's like, okay, all right, what am I going to do here? Yeah. You know, versus just, you know, just going straight into it. So it really does help. It really does help. So
there's a quote that says, what comes from your heart goes to your heart. And that's why I'm so like into this one. Yeah. Just because it gets you back into your heart, not just thinking, but to your heart too. Yeah. So that that response comes from there.
You know, Alan, I think of her as the fairy godmother of parenting.
Can you call upon her and you need?
Well, no, you say so. So my mother had a nickname of the fairy godmother of relationships. Okay. And I said, when I met Susie, I got that similar feeling that I always would say, what would Susie do? Yeah. You know, I mean, and that's what a lot of people say. Yeah. It's like, what would Susie do in this situation? So she's almost like she's on your shoulder, and you're like, you know, you're talking, and you're like, okay, I'm talking to my kid right now. What would Susie say in this situation? And so that's kind of, I think of you that way. I don't know. I hope it's a positive thing.
I think it's awesome.
And I think a lot of people do. And when you have something like that to refer to, you know, the courses and the people it's really, really powerful. Sure. So, I mean, I invite, you know, anybody, of course, if you're in the San Diego area and you don't know Susie, I'm not sure who you are. But if you happen to be in the area or even outside the area, we'll put the link to the website.
Yeah, the website
and,
has
you want to bring her in, she talks, she does classes, everything.
IndigoVillage.com.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Right. And then we'll put a link to the book as well. So, cool. Susie, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know you've got tons of stuff going on too. So, but it's been a pleasure having you in
thank you. I'm just, you know, I feel I'm so happy that you guys have put together Dudes to Dads. I keep promoting it big time because
it's awesome.
I think it's so necessary, and I'm sure the men that are coming to these, you know,
the meetups
are getting so much out of it. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's very sweet of you to say.
Commitment's awesome. Yeah. So thank you.
We all love it. So, with that, another episode, and we'll see you next time.
Next time, podcast at dudesanddads.com.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.